Hello, friends. Now, after a big break, for me it was a big break. A week is a big break for me from the holidays. Let's get into making a beautiful new soap. Now, I did decide that in 2025, most of my soaps are going to be either essential oil or no fragrance. I will actually have three that do have fragrance oil, and the only reason is they are the most popular. So I think we'll have watermelon and caramel. Those ones we will still do, and I also do have a male scented one with a fragrance. So they're the only ones that will be, and they'll be massive blocks. But for today, we're working on a gorgeous soap, and this one here is 85% olive oil. So I have a mixture of standard olive oil and extra virgin olive oil. I like to do the 50-50 with those two. I don't know why, I just really like it. So let's get going. So this is a 4 kilo batch we're making, and if you can see the massive mold in the background, that is from CSUN molds. They actually did this custom made mold for me. They didn't charge me, which was so nice of them. And, you know, I'm more than happy to show their mold because it is really amazing. The silicone is beautiful as well. So we're going to be using that one. It is 1 meter long and it holds roughly about 4 kilos of soap in it. So now I have my coconut oil pushed to the side in the purple container, and I'm just showing you a few things that you need. So we need a little sifter to sift out the lye. We're going to use some organic coconut milk in this one, and that's going to create a part of the lye water solution. Of course we need a stick blender. So I'm using my beautiful new stick blender that I did get. I bought it for myself for Christmas, and I got it just before Christmas. So it's a little KitchenAid stick blender. So we're going to organize everything we need to do, and the first thing I'm going to do is just measure up the coconut milk that we actually need. So you do need to give it a bit of a mix. And it will be really thick, but this does add a beautiful creaminess to this bar. So obviously this is going to be a coconut inspired bar, and if you want the coconut scent, really you're probably going to have to go and buy coconut oil that has the scent. So generally the basic coconut oil that we all buy, which is the 76 coconut for soap makers, that doesn't have a scent in it at all. So you know, the ones that you see in your supermarket, they are going to have that gorgeous coconut scent. So it's one of those things, isn't it? So now we're just mixing up, like I said, the coconut. You can get, you know, discounted coconut milk in different tins. I ended up buying the organic one. It was like maybe 40 cents more, and I just thought it's good, and it's actually, honestly, it is a good buy appeal to have something like that on a label to say organic coconut milk. And if you just buy one that doesn't say organic, of course you can't put those words on it. So because there is a lot of, you know, testing and, you know, regulations around saying organic. So, but of course, you know, go and check all those out. All you got to do is Google some information and you will find the information in it. So now, like I said, I'm using a percentage of this in my lye solution. So I've done a 50-50 lye water solution, and then I'm going to add the extra percent in the coconut milk in it. So now you can see the coconut milk's just here. And when I say add it in, I'm basically made my 50-50 lye water already and set that aside. And then we're going to add the milk in a little bit after. So let's get going with all of the oils. So inside here, you can see I do have my olive oil. As I said, it's extra virgin olive oil and standard olive oil in here. I just buy mine from the shop. I've actually tried to look at buying it in drums. It is no cheaper. If anything, it's actually more expensive. I just literally buy it from my local, you know, Woolworths, which is my local shopping centre for anyone that's overseas, because in Australia we really only have 3 main food shopping centres. So you know, we have Woolworths, we have Coles, and we have Aldi. They're basically the 3 that we have here. And so now, like I said, we've got everything in here. We're also, you know, we've got our water and we've got our lye also put to the side. And now what I'm going to do in a minute is we are going to be adding in our coconut oil, which is already melted down and it's at room temperature. So at the moment in Australia, it's been quite hot. So the coconut oil did actually melt mostly by itself. I only put it in the microwave for about 20 seconds. So we're going to add that in. So it's 85% coconut, 85% olive oil and 15% coconut oil in this recipe. So it's really only the two. And then the only other thing we're going to be adding in is the coconut milk at a later date. Now I am doing the voiceover today because I started using my new mic. I forgot to charge it, and then of course half of the video was empty with no sound. So I thought, well, I'm going to have to do the voiceover, aren't I? But I'm sure that you won't mind. And like I said, you know, we've got everything organized. It's not too difficult. Although you will see in this video, I make an absolute boo-boo and I poured the soap mixture everywhere. But, you know, we're going to keep it real here, and I'm just going to let all of that, you know, be in the video. I mean, maybe everyone will get a little laugh seeing, you know, that I still make these mishaps all the time. It's part and parcel of being a soap maker. So here I'm just showing you the coconut milk. I've already measured that out. Like I said, we're going to sit that in here, but we're going to add that in a little bit later. So in a minute, we're just going to organize the lye, and you can see the lye probably in the background. And I'm also going to add some beautiful calendula petals. Now, calendula petals are one of the only petals that do not go brown in soap. Don't put rose or lavender or anything else because they will actually go brown and really, really ugly. I'm not sure what that is or why that happens with calendula only. It must be some sort of, you know, bio makeup in the calendula petal. But of course, I don't really know. That's just my thoughts on the whole process with adding in calendula. But it does add a real silky kind of ness to everything, and that's what I really do love. So now let's just go and add our lye in. So I've got a sifter, and the only reason I've got this is because when I made the lye, I didn't put a lid or anything on it. And those little bits that you can see that look like ice going into that, it's not actually ice, it's actually just lye lint. And you just don't want to really chuck that in. I mean, I guess you could, but I wouldn't. I would definitely be doing what we're doing. But you know, we need to make sure that we get everything out of the bucket. Because remember that when we put everything through soap calc is actually calculating the amount of lye. So if I just, you know, throw those little bits away, what's going to happen is then it's not the right amount of lye. So that's why we're just going to scrape it down, and any extra rubbish bits, I'm going to obviously, you know, get rid of those. And then I'm also going to go back into the container that had the lye in. We'll just tip whatever is in here just to make sure that we're actually getting, like I said, all the lye and all the water content that we need from that. It's super important. Now I'm using a super fat here of 5. I'm not using you know, much more than that. And I will leave it at 5 unless it's like a salt bar that I need to up it to 21 or something like that. But generally that's kind of what we're doing. Now in here, I'm sorry my big hand is in the way, but I'm just pretty much, you know, putting the last little bit of lye in here so that we can scrape it through and just get that into the bucket. And then of course we need the stick blender to mix it all up. Now, over time, I've had lots of people ask me, can you put this in a stand mixer? Can you just mix soap by hand? Look, you could mix this by hand, but it would take hours to come to trace and to resemble soap. So really, you do need a stick blender, and there is so many really cheap ones on the market at cheap discount department stores. You can get them now for like $14, $20, really cheap. You don't have to buy, you know, $150 to $200 KitchenAid stick blender. Like I said, after years, I've only just got one. I never had one before. I used a cheaper one, and then I used a Braun that was $99 for years, and the Braun's still going strong, but I just wanted a KitchenAid one. And if I'm really honest, I kind of, I know it sounds really silly because I've got this beautiful KitchenAid one and it is good, but I sort of prefer the Braun one, maybe because I've got used to it. I'm not sure, but you know, the only thing with this, the KitchenAid, I'll say, is they are super strong. So they're really powerful. You know, you've got to get used to each stick blender, and maybe that's why I kind of feel the way I am at the moment. So we're just going to mix it up until it's, you know, obviously at a trace, and it's very, very light trace here, because now we need to go and add in all of the milks and things like that. Now, you might sort of say, well, why didn't I just freeze the milk and do it that way? We could have, and put it into the lye, but I don't really like to do that because often it scorches the milk and it has a horrible smell once it's in lye. So I decided not to do that, and to add the milk in later. So now you can see in goes the calendula petals. I have, for this 4 kilo batch, it's about 2 tablespoons. So it's not a massive amount. Don't put huge amounts in, but just that little sprinkle of it. And with the stick blender, it will kind of cut through that as well. And it just really does give a really silky bar of soap. So now here we are putting in all of the coconut milk that we already have added up. And, you know, we've done all of that before. So don't leave it to the last minute. Make sure you have everything sitting there ready to go, because if you don't, and then the soap moves fast, and sometimes heat, even just the heat of the day, you know, if you're in a hot environment like we are in Australia at the moment, you know, and at the moment we're having days of 41, 42 degrees Celsius, which is huge. Now you can see I am splurting a big amount out. The bucket is too small. I know I have to go and get another bucket. But I was being very lazy, and this is what I mean. You know, my other stick blender would not have done this, because it was more of a bell shape, but the KitchenAid has, you know, little gaps in the side, so it's more of a cap shape, so it can spray out the side more easy. And this is why you wear goggles, and this is why you wear gloves, to protect yourself, because I actually did get a little spray on my goggles, which is fine. If I didn't have them on, it would have gone in my eye and I would have ended up in emergency. So that's why you wear the goggles, and you can get them really cheap too now at lots of places. My husband actually bought them for me as a gift when my pink ones broke, and he got them from Harvey Norman in Australia. So, and there's lots of Harvey Normans all around Australia, but go online, you can get the goggles, you know, from $10. I think the ones I've got maybe were $30. They were a better quality one, but you just have to, you know, use them, and never put your head over the top, you know, of the bucket, because if it sprays and it's in your face, and it can scar your face from the, you know, because this is caustic at the moment. So yeah, I always stand back a little bit behind the camera, and so the camera is actually in front of me when you see these videos, and today it's actually on a stand, but often it's on the bench or something just clipped onto the bench near me, but anyway, that's, you know, a little bit of a mummy chat, I guess, there about lye, because I've had a few lye burns, like every soap maker will have, I guess. It's the same as anyone working in takeaway food. They get burns from the oil until you find solutions. Now, the only thing that's a bit tricky about this mold is because it's such a long mold, the silicone kind of collapses a little bit inside the mold. And that's nothing to do with, you know, the mold or anything. That's because I wanted a bigger one, and I should have put more clips along the silicone until it was a little bit full, because once it's full, it's fine. And what I actually did is I made a boo-boo, and then I actually tipped the solution in, or, you know, the soap mixture in, and then it went between the silicone mold to the wood. And the problem with that is then it bows your soap. So then you've got to try and squeeze that extra soap away from the wood and silicone, because it's making a gap in the middle. So honestly, you know, this was not a smooth process for my first soap back of the year. It was like so messy and annoying. But typical me, I never do things the easy way. But, you know, it's going to be beautiful soap. So let's keep on the positive, my loves, with this video. So we're going to get everything organised, and then we're going to pour straight into the mould. Now, rather than being a bit silly, and I was going to pour it directly in there, I thought, Rhonda, do not do this. Pour it straight into a large jug. So this is like a 3 litre jug I think I'm using at the moment here. And I thought, look, I can't be a bit stupid. I have to pour it in here. But I still made, absolute disastrous mess, typical me. But anyway, find something easier. And like I said, next time I will put the clips on because I know I just, like I said, made an absolute boo-boo. And actually, the first bit when I started pouring it in here with the jug was fine, but it was not actually the jug. It was then later on I thought I'd get fancy and being lazy, and I just poured it directly from the main bucket, and of course that went everywhere, and I should have just poured it back into the jug and kept going. So anyway, you'll be able to see my little bit of a disaster as we go along, but in the end it did turn out beautiful. I mean, look, that's just the way it is, isn't it? Now, I don't know, can you see there how I'm pouring it out? And unfortunately, when I did that, like I said, that went in the middle, so I had to put my finger inside to try and push the soap away from and squeeze it up because it was stuck between the wood and the silicone, not in the actual middle silicone. So I was like, oh no. Anyway, I really did have to work quite a bit to fix this up. Typical me. Like I said, you kind of got to laugh, don't you? And then, of course, I'll get my spatula and then we're going to clean out, the containers. Just make sure we fill it all up. But then I do need to leave it here a little bit because it's too liquidy. This sort of recipe is too liquidy to do your pattern on top. So I did actually have to leave this for roughly 40 minutes. So that I could come back and later on just give it a quick texture. And I don't do anything super fancy with my texture. So anyway, time to clean up before we get to the next bit, but I'll bring you back to see how gorgeous it is. Now here it is, everybody. I have done a little pattern on it using the back of a plastic fork, and it does look really, really lovely and creamy, doesn't it? So now, just to show you the bubbles and how it actually works, here's a little demo of a little slither that I cut off the end of the bar. And my bars, I made them 2.5 centimetres in width. And then, of course, they've got the height of roughly 7 centimetres, I think. Hope you enjoyed this one. See you on the next one. Bye, friends.